all right, all right. Let's get this show on the road. Today we're gonna for today's Inventathon, okay. I present to you the Garmin Pendulum. Okay, the Garmin Pendulum. So I want you to think of a boat, okay? And I want you to think about when the wave hits the boat, how the boat lowers to one side and then it lowers to the other side, right? So right now it's a lot of things going on with a water basin system, right? Now, the Garmin Pendulum is an AI wave combater, okay? AI wave combater, AI wave balancing system. I want you to imagine it's in a storm or the waves are pretty aggressive and the boat is completely unstable. Okay? Right now there's a system in play where water releases inside the boat to balance it out. But let's be honest, that can only do but so much, right? So how can we do more? How can we take a ship, set it off into a storm, and the ship remains unmovable? In order to do this, you have to have a compass. And that compass is of the highest power. So when it comes to this boat, the compass will be the ship, okay? The balancing point of the ship. I'm talking about taking a boat, shifting it off to sea, and the boat essentially never moves or barely moves from its original position, its original water depth, and where it's going, okay? So the way I see doing this is by creating a pendulum that's based on the exterior lower quadrant, about the lower to about a little bit under the mid quadrant of the boat. And this right here is a weighted system, okay? A weighted system. But the problem would be, again, if this weighted system were purely steel-based as a whole unit, if this weighted system were purely steel-based as a whole unit, I'm going to show you the picture right now, okay? If this weighted system was purely steel-based, let me grab my pen, as a whole unit, right? So this right here is the actual boat, okay? This is the actual boat, all right? And this is the pendulum, okay, that aligns with the boat. You see these knockets right here? These knockets allow this pendulum to swing this way and this way, this way and this way. But not only that, now we're going to look at it from the side angle of the boat, and this is the pendulum system, okay? Now, let's say the wave, one second, let's say the wave lifts the front end of the boat way up, right? What does the pendulum do? The pendulum, in accordance with its wave transmitter and the compass of the proper positioning of the boat, the pendulum now shifts the weight from the exterior to the front. So whereas an average boat, when it hits a wave that is going up, it goes up and then it goes down, right? Okay, well, the pendulum will essentially slightly go up, but ultimately go through the wave, okay? And the reason being is because 1 second. So let's just say it goes up. The AI wave combater will say, okay, it's moved X amount of inches and yada yada from the wave power. It'll be able to basically it'll be able to basically do direct impact, tell its wave calculation, the power, and then the AI system will re-angulate the weight in accordance to balancing it back out. So naturally, when the wave hits and this boat goes up and goes over the wave and a little bit through the wave, right? And goes back down the wave, right? What'll happen is when this boat begins to rise, right? The pendulum, which will be, I want you to think of, you ever seen them little games that we play as kids where it's like these little circles? Oh God, hold on 1 second. We play with them as kids, right? It's at every kid daycare, and they got like them little circles. It got them little circles, and it got the little square, and it's a whole bunch of the circles like that, right? And you just move them. You just move them. You just move them, right? Okay. So what I want you to think as what the pendulum also does is I want you to see this right here. And this sheet right here is the steel sheet, right, of the pendulum base. Okay? So this is the calculated weight, okay? And the pendulum will have these steel-like weighted replicas, okay? That'll be enough to combat the power of waves, okay? Be able enough to balance out the boat to make it a lot more heavier to where it's not nearly, not all the way unmovable, but good enough to where it's more heavier than the average, okay, boat, okay? So it adds extra weight, right? And I want you to imagine this steel plate right here now has like shingles, a shingle like structure, okay? A shingle like structure. And if we like, we can even develop some that has a grid like structure. So we can do both. We can do straight base shingle, right? Base structure, or grid structure, right? And straight base shingle, right, will allow, let's just say, for instance, when the boat rises up, right, what normally happens if we have the weight, if we have steel on a rope that's allowed to move the circle steels back and forth. When the boat goes up, right, the back is already down, right? So we're going to do a little quick boat, right? We're going to draw the wave. That's the wave. And then we're going to go, here goes the boat. Okay? Boom. The boat goes up. Okay? There go the propellers, right? There go the propellers, right? Okay? So the boat goes up, right? And if these steel movable weights, right, when the boat goes up, naturally the weights will go back, which will make the boat go up, straight up, which is a no-no. So it's a combatter, AI wave combatter, right? So when the boat goes up, let's just talk about what these circle steel magnetic weights is going to do, okay? This is a magnetic system, propulsion system, okay? So, let me put that down. Magnetic propulsion system, weights, okay? So the weights would naturally go back, okay? If it's able to go back, right? It'll go back. But we're talking about an entire grid here, okay? So what would happen is, if, let's just say, for instance, the wave lifts it up, right? And it's not a big wave, but it's big enough to where it needs balancing, because the object is for the wave to hit and the boat to be like this, and the water splash, and you know, and it's not as high, right? Not being so much endangered by the wave, right? So what'll actually happen is, these magnetic weights that's connected to this portion, because this is the actual boat. This is the actual boat, okay? And this is the extra sheet, okay? That's going to be the compass, and also the extra weight, okay? Making the boat appear to be a little bit more bigger than it actually is. So now, this will also, of course, be floatable, of course. Well, no, I don't know. We could make it floatable, but let's carry on. Let me get my thought across, right? So ultimately, what these weights that'll be right here along the side, these weights, right, over here, all on the side, what they ultimately do when the boat goes up is they'll go this way at the perfect degree to balance the boat this way. You understand? They'll go the what's called, so the weighted are the circles on, that's going to be on the exterior, on the grid of this steel-based pallet, right? Which is giving me three different forms. Excuse me. We'll have three different forms, okay? We'll have the regular steel-plated base structure, right? Which would be a lot cheaper. Not a lot cheaper, but it'll be the cheapest form. In other words, an attachable, right, base system, pure steel right here. This is pure steel. All of that will be pure steel. Then we'll have the second form, right, which would be, okay, the line structure, where it'll have line in a gap, line in a gap. And it'll also be able to move this way and that way, from front to back. Okay? So now this right here represents this compass. Okay? It can come whole, it can come in board-like structure, but it's still connected to a thin base, right? But the thing is that it's going to be able to go this way. So let's just say this is it right here, right? We're going to draw these lines real quick on this example, right? These are the lines. Okay, never mind the circles, because imagine the circles is the extra steel circles, magnetic circles, is gonna be already on there. Okay, or yeah, it will be already on there. So if the boat goes up, this will begin to move this way, right? It'll begin to move this way. These things will be able to overlap and move forward towards the front of the boat, giving the front of the boat just enough weight to balance it out on a straight path. But now, let me show y'all where it gets amazing at, and this is my favorite part. So, This right here, bolt right here, this base, when it's connected to these circle thingies, right? What this allows the boat to do, what it allows the pendulum garment to do is not only connect to the boat, but it also allows it to swing this way, balancing out in multiple directional ways. So in other words, while let's just say it's a crazy ass storm, and instead of the boat going from left and right in accordance to the wave, this pendulum is swinging under the boat, combating the left and right waves. Boom. Balancing it naturally. Okay. Now, as you know, in the sea is chaotic. You got waves coming this way. You got waves coming that way. You got waves coming this way. You got waves coming that way. So multi-dimensional, Garmin Pendulum will be multi-dimensional because it'll be like an orchestra, right? This will be swaying from left to right, balancing out left and right waves, allowing the boat. So the boat would look like this. Okay, the craft would look like this. And let's just throw this out like this, right? That's the boat. We're gonna draw this out real quick, right? Okay, and this is where this is the Garmin Pendulum. Okay, that's the boat. This is the Garmin Pendulum. Okay, that's the Garmin Pendulum. This ultimately will be swinging this way to this way, reaching at least, I give or take, about I'm guesstimating either yay high or even yay high. Okay, and it'll be at a constant swinging nature. But look at the boat like this, because here goes the boat and here goes the Garmin. Okay, and this is how it's swaying coming up this way. You understand? So now the Garmin that's on this side is actually now shifting this way. And when it reaches its full extension, it may stop a little bit at the halfway point, right? And then what happens? What comes up must come down. Okay? And it's combating the wave. So ultimately, the boat never loses its path, and it always stays stable. Okay? The boat never loses its path, and it always stays stable. While the Garmin is actually the one that's taking the wave impact and disrupting the wave impact, right? Allowing the boat to stay its course. Now, again, the waves go in multi-directional patterns because we're talking about the ocean here. We can't control the ocean. We can't do that. But what we can do is be unbothered and surrender to its waves and continue on our path. And that's what the Garmin Pendulum actually does. So now, let's say the waves is going this way and this way. What happens here? We go back over here. Now, the Garmin, while it's still swinging from left to right, is also contracting, dispersing the weight that's needed to keep it at its composite status of how the boat left off. You feel what I'm saying? So again, we'll have three different types. We'll have the whole base palette, Garmin base palette, right? Then we'll have the I don't know what we call this one, the lined one, you know what I'm saying? To where the base of the Garmin is like this. Okay, it has, you know, it's straight, not so sketchy scratchy, but you feel what I'm saying? It'll still have its base, right? Its whole base, right? It'll still have its whole base, but this would be, you know what I'm saying? But it'll be more like that, okay? Lined up cubes. I mean, not rectangles. What they call that? Anyway, y'all know what that is. You know, a long one, the long one like that, the long ones like that. Okay, and what it'll do is it'll go like this, wherever it needs to distribute the weight to balance out the journey of the moment that the AI wave combater is receiving and is disrupting the path, and not only the path but the balancing point of the boat. It'll balance. Then we'll also have it in the grid-like form, okay, like this, okay, allowing it to one go into the other. This one goes under this one goes under that one, this one goes under that one, and pushes up to the top. You feel what I'm saying? Or maybe it only needs two, it only needs two sets, right? Maybe it only needs two sets, or maybe it only needs 1, 2, 3, 4 in accordance to the wave combater. You feel what I'm saying? And it'll continuously move. So, one second. So, yeah. Hopefully you guys can hear me. So I want you to look at, I want you to see, almost like that thing. You know that thing where they be like, you feel what I'm saying? Something like that. So that's my new invention of the day. Garmin Pendulum magnetic propulsion system, AI wave combater. Okay, I wish I had like a boat. Let me just do this real quick. Okay. Okay. So this is the perfect example. So here goes the boat, and this is your Garmin. Okay, it looks just like this, right? And here goes the boat, and now this boat is starting to dip low right here. So what does the Garmin Pendulum do is it goes right here. No. It goes, wait. It goes this way, which balances out. And then it rebalances it enough, you feel what I'm saying, to keep it in a somewhat of a more stable fashion than the waves would allow it to be. You feel what I'm saying? And when it gets to its optimum level to where it will destroy and disrupt the waves, because this is a big weighted system, when it gets to its actual level where it will destroy the waves, what it will ultimately do is it will destroy the waves and create, you feel what I'm saying, almost like a giant troll going through water. When that troll, the Garmin Pendulum will be, they say unstoppable force meets an immovable. The unstoppable force meets an immovable force or whatever. The wave system, not the wave system, the ocean is the unstoppable force. But the Garmin Pendulum is the immovable force. You know what I'm saying? Ain't that what they call it? The unstoppable force meets the immovable whatever action or whatever. And that's what Garmin Pendulum is gonna be. It will be the immovable force. It will not move from its destined path. And it's the boat itself will maintain as much perfect alliance as perfection can be welded at the sea. And that's what we have today. Another Adrian Gambry production. You know what I mean? And and I'm gonna pat myself on the back for that one. I like that one. So I'm gonna talk about it again because it makes me feel good. I like it when I create things. So again, normally the wave come and right goes up. It goes up, forces the boat to go up, and then it goes down. Right, goes up, and then it goes down because of the wave, the unstoppable force. Okay, so because the Garmin not only sways from left to right, right, not only sways from left to right, but it also redistributes the weight this way, front to back. Okay, so let's just say, for instance, it goes up, right, but this side is low, right. This side over here is low, right. Then it'll come across the weight this way to make it go back this way. And then if this side is low, right, it will move this weight this way to balance it straight. You see what I'm saying? So again, in this pendulum will be a disruptor, a natural disruptor towards waves, big giant waves. It will bust waves up. You know what I'm saying? Imagine you put a big giant that can walk into the ocean, and a big wave is coming, and the giant is walking. What it's gonna do when the wave hit the giant and the giant hits the wave gonna hit you know what I mean? It's gonna disperse, and that's what it's gonna ultimately do. It's gonna disperse the waves and balance out the boat at the same time, allowing the boat to continue on its path at its best direction. It may not be depending on the level of the storm, it may not be at its most perfect straight path, right? Balancing point, but it will be lesser than if you didn't have the Garmin pendulum. And that's what it is. That's today's invention of the day. And it's amazing, gotta get ready to work tonight, stuff like that. So I'm gonna sip on this Mountain Dew and do the do, you know what I mean? That's all it is to it.